Here's my inspirational talk. How much inspiration can you handle? I mean, good old-fashioned inspiration. You know, feeling good, feeling energized, maybe even powerful. Kind of free, a little bit enlightened. I'm going to make my point by way of anecdote. For those of you who have already heard the story, well, here's a different version. Compare it to the last version that you've heard. How about that? See if I make any mistakes. Maybe you can catch me in an inconsistency, and then you can really troll the hell out of me. No, I doubt it. I think I'm immune to trolling. And I think I know why. I'm immune to trolling because which part are you going to troll? Okay. Believe it or not, that is every bit and perhaps even more connected to the upshot and thesis of the present talk. Quite nicely, in fact. Once upon a time, I found myself in a highly liquid situation business-wise. I had significant liquid assets entirely in my name. And I don't know, I was roughly 34, 35 years old. Pardon me. When I say significant assets, I mean it's like zeros and commas and zeros and commas and zeros and to some degree. So, in other words, there were significant funds. And further, now that's as luck would have it, you know. A. Here's as luck would have it B. I was coerced into a father-son competition of making money. And that's all I did for several years, pretty much. I just ran the record labels and competed with Constantine for who could make the most money from the stock market after it melted down in the fall of 2008. Now, a word about Warren Buffett. If you know Warren Buffett's philosophy, then you know. And if you don't, it deserves more than a cursory indication in order to speak about it. Basically, Warren Buffett's philosophy is derived from probably several theoretical texts. One in particular called, I believe, The Theory of Investment Value, John Burr Williams, I believe. And it is a monograph of full-blown philosophical system of value investing. John Burr Williams. The principles are roughly like this. The only companies that are worth spending any of your attention on the performance of are companies where you can map a relatively linear growth in earnings quarter over quarter for at least 30 years. That's rule number one. That thins out the pool of potential investment candidates considerably. Rule number two. And it is not rule number one, it is rule number two, because rule number two is a little bit more, or a lot more difficult than rule number one is to find positive matches that belong in the set. Indeed, there are a number of companies where you can plot 30 years, quarter over quarter, linear earnings growth. But rule number two, the competitive moat, roughly understood to be the unique singularity of any individual, whereby only the individual that positively matches for that identity satisfies the predicate, because it's a complex predicate and it's entirely unique to that individual alone. You know, like the individual who was born on such and such a date at such and such a time and who has such and such an academic history and who grew up in such and such a town, et cetera, it will single out an individual pretty damn quick. So the idea of competitive moat, the canonical example is Coca-Cola, where nobody really can compete with Coca-Cola. Even if you make a product that you reckon is identical to theirs, they still have the secret formula. And that's, mythologically anyway, what that in which the competitive moat that of which the competitive moat is made. So there is only one Coca-Cola, and there is only one Paris Hilton. There is only one Amazon books, or whatever they're called. Amazon slavery. Is that what they're called now? Amazon slavery? Chattel slavery, brought to you by Amazon. Did you hear that one? I think it was Alia Rahman. Alia Rahman is Bangladeshi Minneapolisite. And she testified in front of Congress yesterday or the day before. I don't know if it was her. It was one of these people testifying. The use of the word bodies being thrown around everywhere at the Whipple complex. The Whipple complex in Minneapolis, where ICE was carrying out all their dastardly deeds. Pardon me if I'm getting the facts wrong here, but maybe it was Dilly, I don't know. Somebody claimed that somewhere at the detention center where they were taken, there were humans lined up, prisoners, shackled together. And it is being screamed every other word. Bodies this, bodies that. We have bodies here. No, there's bodies over there. Where can we put some more bodies? What has this to do with Warren Buffett? Rule number 3 is you are only to buy stocks when they are at all-time historic lows. Which means that in order to buy a company that you want to invest in, you might have to wait for 10 years to get the price that you want. That doesn't matter, because the time that you lose waiting for the bargain price will radically be recuperated once you get your price and the thing rebounds and you start counting in terms of 10 baggers and 20 baggers and so on. 3 rules. There's a few more rules of, rough, but, if you do that. So here's my example. I had 2 examples. No, I had several. I guess my best one was, my most dramatic and extended one was General Electric. There were a few. In 08 or 09, it was mostly 09, I think, General Electric came down to about $2. Buh. Boom, buh. Speak, Dimitri. The price of the stock was $2. And I bought what is known by a technical locution around Wall Street. I bought a shit ton of General Electric stock, and I made a fuck ton of profit. So how much stock did I buy? A shit ton. How much profit did I make? A fuck ton. And there are a few examples like that. Now, why am I bringing up my investment history? So I can show off and flaunt to the world how much of a rich, white, testosterone riddled motherfucker I am? No, I am, as I've articulated, sorry I say articulate so much. I'll just continue to claim to be interested in morality and living according to my own morality. And I'm willing to define what that morality is and be transparent about it. And if you catch me doing hypocritical things, because I may very well be caught doing hypocritical things because I'm human, then if you sit me down and you say, hey, look, Dimitri, don't you think that this is a little bit inconsistent here? Let me describe for you the way that I understand the way that you're behaving. And you describe to me what the problem is, I'll have to take it seriously. I mean, my philosophy demands it. Now, there are still problems there, my problems. I mean, problems that by saying that, I invite on myself, is that there do seem to be standards of admissibility of discourse that I maintain, quite rigorous and high standards for what counts as legitimate discourse. And I simply am unwilling to participate in any kind of discourse that falls short of the standard. And I'm perfectly willing to articulate endlessly what I believe the standard to be. Indeed, it is the subject matter of these YouTube videos. In large part, I'm trying to address the question of what counts as the minimal standard of public civic discourse. So there remain problems there because I can say things like, oh, isn't it frustrating? Like nobody's interested in, nobody seems interested in discussing any of our current problems. And then you can look at me and say, well, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, what are people talking about? What are the talking heads talking about? Well, on my view, they're talking about things that can generate ad revenue. And in large part, that is a kind of impressively shallow sensationalism that is supercharged with endocrinological sort of messianic theological endocrinological anticipatory event logic, whereby everything is just like stroboscopic frames of achievement and defeat and synthesis and analysis, and everything is like the digital cut. Ugh. The digital cut. Do we need this discourse? Well, it's too late now. We're stuck with it. Now the question is, what truly is it? What truly is the discourse of digital theory and the hypothesis of the digital cut? Oh, I do have a comment. Now, with respect to philosophy podcasts, if you do a podcast about theory, don't play music in the background. I mean, look, if you're doing, because of course I play like club tracks and, hip hop and stuff or whatever I play, but for me, when I play music, like, that's a theoretical object. Like, that video is about that thing. So, I listen to these philosophy podcasts, and there's somebody going on about something, and then there's, like, weird, like, Lustmord or something, drone music in the background. Yeah. Philosophy podcast people, like, don't do that. I mean, stop doing that. Discourse quality. Discourse quality. What is the standard of discourse? Why would I say stop doing that? If you're doing philosophy right now, who's your target audience? I'll rephrase. If you're doing philosophy right now, who do you expect to be your interlocutors? How restricted is that group? Are you picking that group? Are you speculating and guessing who that group would be? Are you like, what do they call it? Sarah Longwell calls it, are you focus grouping your... Seriously, plenty of people use social media as a kind of way to focus group their shit. If you have an idea and you're unprepared to sign your name to it and until after you've run the focus group, don't even bother doing the focus group because the idea is bunk. I'll tell you a priori. I'm not talking about making money. If you're looking to make money, yeah, focus group the shit out of it. That's different. No, we're talking about truth and morality. You can't focus group those things.